Hi and welcome to the Sewing Studio. I'm Anna and in this video I am going to talk you through the Janome J3-18 Sewing Machine. I'm going to go through its features and functions, show you everything that comes in the box, show you how to thread it, do some sewing, show you its capabilities, and then talk about warranty and support at the end. Now we've split all of those into chapters, so if there's a particular section that you're interested in, feel free just to head on to that. So the Janome J3-18 is a mechanical sewing machine and it's what's called standard size. So you've got 6 inches of space to the right of the needle. Now J3-18 because it has 18 different stitch options and those are all listed on the front of the machine here. These are all lettered and this dial here has all the letters on for you to be able to choose those different stitches. On this one here, you can change the length of the stitch and you have got a small width adjustment between a straight stitch and a zigzag so that you can get a different width on your zigzag. And the maximum stitch length of 4mm and a maximum stitch width of 5mm. You've got one buttonhole stitch option and that's a 4-step buttonhole. Now the presser foot lift has an extra lift on there so you can get any bulky items in underneath. It's got a 3-piece feed dog system and those feed dogs can be dropped to do any free motion work. It's got a built-in needle threader and a handy little cutter on the side there to cut your threads off. The bobbin is a front-loading bobbin in the front there, and then you also have your free arm. And there's a little bit of storage in here for the accessories that come with the machine. Speaking of which, you've got the standard presser foot that's already on there, a buttonhole foot, along with a range of accessories, and the instruction book, your foot control and power lead, and a soft cover. So let's get the machine plugged in. I'll show you how to thread it and some of its capabilities. So threading is very simple to do. The first job is to pull up one of the 2 spool pins, doesn't matter which one, and then pop your thread on. And there's 2 pins there, A for if you want to do any twin needle, double needle work, but also if you've got another cotton the same colour and you want to wind your bobbin, you don't particularly need to completely unthread your needle. So everything is numbered for you. So you're going in number 1, around number 2. Now at this moment in time, let's get that around there, I can see that the take-up lever is not where it needs to be because of the position that the needle's in. So you can just turn the hand wheel and you can see it pops back up the top there. So then you can go in that one, down to number 4, and then the last one is always the guide just above the needle, and you've got a second guide there for if you were doing a twin needle. So for the needle threader, the most important thing is to make sure the needle's in the right position. So these drop down to the same point every single time. And quite handily on this machine, it's always when the take-up lever is at the highest point. So you would have already done that to be able to thread through that anyway. And then you just want to bring it down and forward. So there's a tiny little hook in the eye of the needle now. And then you just lay your thread in underneath, draw it back, and then there's your loop. And the eye of the needle's threaded. So as I said, it's a front loading bobbin. So you just want to take off the tray, pop the flap down, and then there's a little lever here that you just pull out and that releases the bobbin. So when you first get the machine, there'll be an empty one in there which you can just take out. And once you've loaded your bobbin, you want to put it in with the tail of thread to the right. And you just drop it in, and then there's a little slit there that it comes back up through and then under that plate. And that plate is what sets the tension on the bobbin. And you just line it up with this arm up to this point here on the machine. I'm not sure if you can see that. So just slots in there and you're going over that pin. Whoops. So you just pop that on and give it a push till you hear it click, like that. Then you want to draw up your bobbin thread. So always turn the hand wheel towards you, never away. Drop the needle right down, pull on the needle thread, and then your bobbin thread comes up to the top. Then you can close the door, pop your tray back on, and then use the little cutter on the side to cut off any excess. And that's it, you're threaded and ready to go. So I've got a couple of pieces of cotton here. So let's have a look at a standard straight stitch first. So I can see that this is stitch letter A, so the dial is already on A. However, at the moment we've got a 0 stitch width. So in essence, it's just gonna, stitch length, not stitch width. So it's just gonna stitch on the spot. So we want to have some length to it. 2.5 is about average. So I'm just gonna drop the presser foot, drop the needle in before I start sewing, and that saves it drawing up the thread and the needle becoming unthreaded. And then we're going to secure that by reversing and then come forward again. And that was top speed that I was going there, and for this machine that's around 720 stitches per minute. Just secure that, and then you want to turn the hand wheel again towards you, pull your work out and cut it off on the side there. And that's your nice neat straight stitch. That's the top of the work, and then that's the underneath. So to switch to a different stitch, let's take a look at a zigzag now. So zigzag is C, so I'm just going to turn this around to letter C. My threads are still there. And I'm going to stick with 2.5 stitch length, drop the needle in. Now, see, needles come unthreaded. That's because I didn't have enough thread at the back. So let's just thread that again. How quick and easy was that? Let's try that again. So again, I'm going to secure it, come forward. So that's on a 2.5 stitch length. I could go up to 4. And I could also then take it down so it's not as long. Just come back round. Take the work out, cut it off, and as you can see, that was kind of a standard zigzag, and then this is by making the length longer, so you get a nice wider one, and then making the length narrower, so it's a lot closer together. And actually you could make it narrower again to do like a satin stitch if you were doing a plique or something like that. Now at the moment the width of that stitch is the same throughout, it's only the length that's changed. And as I mentioned, you do have a little bit of play between the straight stitch and the zigzag to change the width. I'll just show you that. So let's go a bit narrower, stick with 2.5. Hold on to your threads and then it won't come unthreaded like I did just now. And there you can see with a reduced stitch width, you've got a much narrower zigzag. So let's take a look at the 4-step buttonhole. So you've got the buttonhole foot here, and there is a guide on the side here in red lines and an arrow. So if you pop your button up against it, and then you can see which arrow corresponds to your button. And then on your material, you just want to make a little mark at where you want the back of the buttonhole to start. So these feet just snap off with that lever, and then they push on again with the presser foot there. And then the next thing you want to do is get the thread underneath the foot, which you could do with a pair of tweezers, but it's much easier to just drop the thread in the fabric and then pull the fabric through, and then you've got your threads there. So let's say our buttonhole is that big. So we're going to pop where we've made the mark on our fabric. You want to line that up with the back of the foot and then drop the foot pedal down. Foot pedal? Presser foot, I mean. So you've got your buttonhole symbols here and they're all numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. So obviously we go in numerical order. So number 1 first, which is going to be sewing down the left hand side and it will sew forwards. So we're just going to choose number 1 on your stitch selector. And then the length, you've got the buttonhole symbol here again, so you can choose anywhere between 0.5 and 1. I'll just go in the middle there. Drop your needle in and make a start. And what you're doing now is watching for when it comes down to the front, and then you're going to take your foot off the foot pedal. So about there. Then we want to do the bar tacks at the front, which is number 2. So I select number 2, sew them. And then we want to go back up the right hand side, so number 3. So just turn that to number 3. And again, now you're watching for it going back to what was your starting point. Take your foot off the foot pedal. Then lastly, you want to do the bar tacks at the back, which is number 4. So you just go back to number 4. And there you go. Take it out, chop the threads, and that's your buttonhole on the top and underneath. So let's move on to a couple of different types of fabric. So I've got some jersey stretch material here. So I've popped a jersey needle on the machine and I'm going to choose the triple straight stitch. So we're going to go back to letter A, and then orange corresponds with the orange of the stretch stitches, and SS obviously. So you've got a little bit of tolerance in the length. This is really quite stretchy, so I'm going to go to the longest that I can. Drop that in. Just secure that down. Now don't ever go too fast when sewing stretch stitches, especially the triple one, because the material, it's feeding it back and forth to do 3 stitches instead of 1. So it just gives a chance for the machine to do it, you know, in a motion that stops the top layer shifting so much, basically. And there's your triple straight stitch, stretch stitch. That's the underneath. Taking a look at some denim, I'm just going to pop a jeans needle in. So I'll take that jersey one out. And these are just standard needles with the flat back. Make sure they're fully inserted as far as they can go. And then thread the needle, pop that in underneath. So now we're just going to do a straight stitch again, so we're on A, but we don't want the stretch version of that stitch. Now because I'm sewing through a thicker fabric, I'm going to have a slightly longer stitch length than what we were sewing on the cotton. So I'm just going to drop that in. And that's gone through 2 layers, no problem at all. The stitch is nice and neat, nothing's skipped, and that's the underneath. So I'm going to double that over and go through 4 layers now. And again, sewn through that really well. That's the underneath, and the seam is secure. Now there's 2-year warranty that comes as standard with this machine, and that can be extended to 5 years, and in the box you'll find this card that explains all that to you. And don't forget, we're here at the Sewing Studio to help you with any questions or any advice that you might need. So I hope in this video I've managed to demonstrate how easy this machine is to use and its capabilities to help you decide whether it's the right machine for you. And if so, head on over to our website and grab yours now. Delivery is fast and free.